Once the student has been taught the skills of your subject, the next step is to show him the bigger picture of your subject. Most of the students are narrow focused and they will look at a particular data task separate from others. In this way, such a student will be skillful, but he would not be knowledgeable. Whereas how a subject is related to daily life generates the interest in the student for that particular subject, it is not enough to sustain that interest. As a teacher, you must help the student fit the pieces of the puzzle of your subject. Each data, task, rules, definitions, terminologies, theories are pieces. By fitting them together, the jigsaw becomes complete and you get the full vision. It is this vision that sustains the interest in the student in your subject. Now, the student can see the forest and not only the individual trees. So, what does it mean to teach knowledge as opposed to teach skills? I will use the analogy of travels to explain the difference. Skill means the ability to walk, run. It also would mean to be able to know where is the north, south, east, or west. It would also mean the capacity to read the name of the streets. Also, it would mean the ability to understand the rules of one way or two way streets and the capacity to follow those rules. Skill would also mean the ability to estimate the distance covered. By knowing those skills, anybody can travel from point A to point B. However, let's say that between those 2 points, there are lots of obstacles in the form of buildings, monuments, crossroads, flyovers, tunnels, mountains, rivers, and so on. If we kept with the skill quadrant learning approach, then we would have to teach the student or traveler here to strictly follow the instruction in the form of going north for 200 meters, then east for 400 meters until the street number 5 is reached, then take the north where you can finally reach point B. This is typically how the modern educational system works. However, if we teach in the knowledge quadrant learning approach, after we have taught the basic skills of traveling that we discussed earlier, all we need to do is to give a map of that city to the traveler, make two marks, that is A and B, then let the traveler find his own path to point B. That would be a process of self discovery, research, as well as experimentation. The journey taken will not be exactly as the one we just outlined in the earlier paragraph. It might be shorter or longer, but point B will be reached because we have provided the traveler with the map. As a four-brain learning teacher, after you have provided your student with some basic skills of your subject, the next step is to provide him the full map of your subject, like in the analogy of traveling. At first, this map would be very broad and will consist of only few divisions. Then the more skills you provide the student, the more divisions will be in the map, and the more details you can keep adding in the map. I will be providing such maps for all the 12 subjects in the respective chapters, so I'll not talk further about the application of this principle here in this section. As I mentioned you, this chapter is to set you up so that you can understand the upcoming 12 chapters and use them right away, whether you are a teacher or a student. Another important aspect of the knowledge brain quadrant approach are diagrams. Because we are talking about the left upper brain, you have to remember that it means that people who are predominant in this quadrant will be conceptual and logical. If your students are governed by this knowledge quadrant, then you can grab their attention and help them master your subject by making flowchart diagrams or workflow diagrams that connects the various data, tasks, and rules in your subject. By seeing how the various skills are interconnected, the students become motivated to learn and master more of the skills that you will be teaching them. Using those diagrams, you can then explain the causalities of the various topics in your chapters. This knowledge quadrant is fond of finding patterns, cause effect relationships, and uncovering the truth. So you have to present your subject like a crime investigation. It's not hard actually. Just ask a lot of questions and allow a lot of questions to be asked back to you. You don't have to answer all of the questions you are being asked. In fact, you should not be able to answer all of them. Otherwise, it means that the students are not using their knowledge brain quadrant properly. Again, diagrams are a very effective mode of teaching to develop this knowledge brain quadrant. Instead of just writing notes on the blackboard, I suggest that you turn them into simple flowcharts where one point is linked with an arrow with another point, and so on. As we discussed earlier, the subjects of science fall in this left upper brain quadrant. It's not by accident. The nature of knowledge is to make hypotheses and test them. That is why the sciences were possible in the first place. It was because our brain, or the knowledge brain quadrant, is wired in that particular way. So even obvious things that have already been proven in your subject, you can present them as still unknown or undiscovered or unproven. Then you can encourage your students to come up with hypotheses, experiments to test it, help them make predictions, and make them explain the reality with the hypothesis, help them change the hypothesis as per the experiment's data. In this way, you will be able to engage the students and retain their interest for a very long time. If you are able to teach your students from your knowledge brain quadrant, you'll be considered as top level teacher, because you are no more just skillful, but you are knowledgeable. I have not gone through the illustration of all the principles of the knowledge brain quadrant. I have elucidated here because I'll be covering them later on. So even as a student, I want you to know that even if you don't get a teacher to help you with this knowledge brain quadrant approach of learning, you too can follow the same principles that are outlined and master a subject from this lower left upper brain quadrant.